office again. Call on President Trump with insane lawsuit against. One approach to make sure you stand out enough to be noticed is to debilitate to cut off his or her flow of funds. They regularly maintain their positions in office in light of their capacity to bring home cash to pay welfare benefits, make government employments, and reserve different projects that are well known to the voters. Touch the funds that empower the majority of this and you will get a provoke and unmistakable response. President Trump has done quite recently this by requesting that particular government grants be suspended to state and nearby purviews that receive sanctuary status. A few cities, for example, Miami, Florida, have submitted to government law and have had their financing re-established. Others are far less agreeable. It should not shock anyone that California falls into that last classification. Government authorities in California are angry over President Trump's crackdown on sanctuary jurisdictions. How concerned these authorities truly are for the displaced people in their middle is begging to be proven wrong, yet obviously having their financial plans cut is an anathema. By what means can a state as of now in a bad position from years of monetary botch be required to work if $28 million in federal subsidies are cut? So California is doing what it specializes in, complain and file lawsuits. On the off chance that a jurisdiction could sue its approach to prosperity, almost certainly California would be an early adopter of such a program. In any occasion, the state is suing the Department of Justice trying to get its subsidies re-established. California is suing the Trump administration for threatening to withhold funds for sanctuary cities, accusing the Justice Department of pure intimidation and arguing the state, not the federal government, should be the one to allocate its law enforcement resources. When President Trump threatened to defunct our local law enforcement's ability to do his job and protect our people, he picked up the wrong fight, State Attorney General Xavier Becerra said. Becerra sounds entirely intense there. Presumably, this is a sound trump for the following election campaign. It's a low blow to our brave men and women who wear the badge, and to the communities they serve, Becerra said, when announcing the lawsuit. Another great sound trump. Somebody may call attention to this as all frightfully uneven, and that all Becerra needs to do is to quit hindering the government in its enforcement of federal immigration statutes, and the issue would leave. Since Becerra and other California authorities won't bring about, we will. Painstakingly watch the wording in the accompanying statement, and note the unpretentious blunder that is purposely infused. These conditions did not appear in any federal statute, and they do not reflect the will of the Congress in appropriating funds, the lawsuit said. To the contrary, the new conditions are simply the latest attempt by the Trump administration to coerce state and local jurisdictions into the implementation of the federal government's immigration enforcement priorities. It's the last word, priorities. The Trump Department of Justice is demanding not that neighborhood purviews complete priorities, but instead laws. The utilization of priorities is thinking. It is expected to give the feeling that President Trump has made an arrangement of needs separated from the law, and is rebuffing locales for not following his strategies which may be thought to be discretionary. Not the situation. The Department of Justice is looking to authorize government law. Liberals, states and cities, for example, those found in California, are trying to impede the requirement of government law. Just to guarantee our users that California is by all account not the only place such garbage can be discovered, we likewise have the ludicrous instance of Chicago, Illinois, keep running by the notorious previous Obama head of staff Rahm Emanuel. He is suing also. It ought to be called attention to that his city and the entire state is in such a critical money-related emergency, to the point that it likely wouldn't assume quite a bit of lost incomes to push them over the edge. The California suit comes on the heels of another filed in early August by Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel. In that 46-page complaint, Emanuel claimed the Dodge, under the stewardship of the Attorney General Jeff Sessions, wants to slap unfair conditions on the Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant, a long-running federal crime prevention grant. The murder rate in Chicago is both a catastrophe and a disgrace. What's more, that is notwithstanding the indecently abnormal state of other vicious violations. However, Mayor Emanuel needs to secure his illegal aliens. discuss an arrangement of botched needs. Be that as it may, what would you be able to state? The general population chose him and now they've procured the products of their imprudence. The Dodge fired back in time, with a spokeswoman of the department reportedly saying it's particularly tragic that the mayor is less concerned with that staggering figure than he is spending time and taxpayer money protecting criminal aliens. To take this back to full circle, what we are managing is an across-the-country development with respect to one side intended to bring foreigners into the nation, give them an official safe house and welfare benefits, concede them voting rights, and after that receive the reward at the surveys. It doesn't take much to discover more than one violation of the law in that arrangement. That a court would hear a case that adds up to an endeavor to strip the national administration of some of its legal requirement powers puts the requirement for legal change on the open show. Sanctuary cities and states are in disobedience to legal government statutes and their authorization. In the event that anybody ought to be pulled into court, it ought to be the leaders of those purviews impeding the requirement of the country's immigration laws. What do you think about this? Do not hesitate and write your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you for reading. H.T. Fox News. Look, which top official says he won't obey the president's order? I will not. Since we are getting considerably more like the last assurance about what could possibly be done North Korea, especially in light of the fact that the window of chance is obviously shutting quickly, and each minute that passes by is another minute that could see the launch of a nuclear warhead on the US or our partners. Trump and his officers in the Pacific have settled on numerous choices as of now that upgrade our availability and, as General Mad Dog Mattis puts it, lethality. The installation of a terminal high-altitude air defense, THAAD, missile system in both South Korea and Alaska has guaranteed that there is some conviction that Kim Jong-un may simply strike Seoul or the mainland United States. It's as of now been resolved that his essential four focuses in the U.S. through an erroneously discharged photograph by the North Korean government, are Washington, D.C., Austin, Hawaii, and San Diego. With such a lot of going on, one would trust that every one of the authorities of the U.S. military is prepared and willing to toss down for their nation. You'd trust that. And you'd not be right. Clearly, one administrator, Commandant Paul Zukunft, who drives the Coast Guard, has chosen that there is one issue that is significantly more critical than an inescapable nuclear strike on the U.S. Transgenderism and the military. Via Politico, Commander Paul Zukunft, in remarks to a Washington think tank on Tuesday, cited the story of Coast Guard Lieutenant Taylor Miller, who featured last week in the Washington Post, to express his support for transgender members of his service. I told Taylor I will not turn my back, Zukunft told the Center for Strategic and International Studies Forum. We have made an investment in you and you have made an investment in the Coast Guard, and I will not break faith. The Coast Guard is part of the DHS, but in wartime it can be transferred to the Navy by the President or Congress. Trump, and a series of tweets last week, said that transgender men and women would not be allowed to serve in the military in any capacity. Following the president's announcement, Zukunft said he had reached out to the Secretaries of Homeland Security and Defense to consider the implications of the announcement. He also said that he personally extended to all openly transgender members of the Coast Guard to express his support. How will the president's wishes be implemented remains unclear. Both Democrats and Republicans, including some who oppose the government paying for the health care of transgender staff, have criticized the proposal to force them out of the ranks in strong terms. Pentagon spokesman Navy Captain Jeff Davis reiterated Monday that the Defense Department has not received any additional guidance beyond the president's tweets last week and that it is still waiting for a formal order. You'll take note of the scholarly untruthfulness here by Politico author, Gregory Hillman, as well. He states in his piece that the two Democrats and rhinos have criticized the proposal to drum them out of the ranks. There's one issue with this announcement and that is, it's not valid. There was a particular admonition to the declaration and that was that transgender people who are at present in the military will not be discharged. The request will relate to just the individual's will identity entering the service. What do you think about this? Do not hesitate and write your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you for reading. H.T. Justice is served. FBI just dropped major announcement, Bill Clinton and Loretta Lynch are sweating bullets. Bill Clinton and Loretta Lynch suspected that they were free for their tarmac meeting amidst Hillary Clinton's email trial. The meeting was clearly questionable, particularly since Loretta Lynch then the Attorney General and supervising Hillary Clinton's trial. Investigation was drawn nearer by Bill Clinton amidst the trial. Why else would Bill Clinton have a private closed-door meeting with the Attorney General? Furthermore, it gives the idea that the FBI trusts that there is a whole other world to this meeting than initially was found. Sean Hannity shared the news that the ACLJ confirmed that the FBI was reopening an FOIA request for into the meeting amongst Lynch and Bill Clinton. At long last, our nation could at long last comprehend what was urgent, to the point that a previous president thought he should meet with the individual accountable for his wife's investigation for. ACLJ reports, "We just have delivered 413 pages of documents on the clandestine Clinton-Lynch meeting to the U.S. Senate Judiciary Committee. This timeline and these documents include the evidence of Attorney General Loretta Lynch's alias email account, numerous redactions, including main talking points, and circumvention of FOIA, Comey-led FBI lies on the existence of requested documents, Dodge media collusion, a White House connection, and revelations that Obama loyalists are now investigating themselves. This could at last shed light into the shady dealings of the Clintons that they have been stowing away for a considerable length of time. In the event that Hillary Clinton is as yet ready to avoid justice for her wrongdoings, in any event, Americans can see for certain exactly how slanted she is. These archives could close down Hillary Clinton's political future after bits of gossip have been widespread that she is planning running again in 2020. The Clintons have been managing oblivious for a really long time and escaping with it. Ample opportunity has already passed that Americans ought to have the capacity to see exactly how abnormal they genuinely are. What do you think about this? Do not hesitate and write your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you for reading. H.T. The Gateway. Resignation. Paul Ryan defies President Trump. Look what he said. With regards to his association with President Trump, House Speaker Paul Ryan is to a greater extent an undeniable irritation than he is an assistance. He more likely than not made sense of that by impeding the president he is giving himself and the Republican House he drives in notoriety for being a piece of a do-nothing Congress. Apparently, he trusts his qualifications as an rhino are more essential than his leader's motivation. In any occasion, he is, no less than, a failure to conservatives. Review that he was chosen to the position of the Speaker in the fallout of the resignation of previous Speaker Boehner, another Republican who experienced considerable difficulties. This conservative thing right. Review additionally that Ryan was Mitt Romney's running mate in 2012. So it is absurd to anticipate that Ryan will be a reliable conservative. It's simply not in his blood. Ryan's most recent cleanup with the president includes the president's immigration agenda. In particular, Ryan contradicts President Trump's intent to forbid lawful migrants from getting welfare benefits for the initial 5 years they are in the nation. The thought is to safeguard that the individuals who arrive here lawfully can act naturally, supporting it bodes well. Consequently, Ryan contradicts it. House Speaker Paul Ryan, seems to want struggling working-class Americans to stay poor, saying he is opposed to President Donald Trump's proposed immigration cuts. Trump, along with Sens. Tom Cotton, RR, and David Perdue, RGA, this week introduced the RAISE Act, a largely merit-based immigration program that aims to protect the U.S. taxpayers and American workers by reducing legal immigration and putting upward pressure on wages. Ryan's not content with this. What's his concern? I just think arbitrary cuts to legal immigration do not take into account the economic needs as the boomers are retiring, Ryan told the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel on Friday afternoon. With baby boomers leaving the workforce, We will still have labor shortages in certain areas, and that's where a well-reformed legal immigration system should be able to make up the difference. So Ryan trusts that legislation intended to build a level of assurance that legitimate outsiders are employable and not prompt welfare cases is a terrible thing. How does including outsiders who draw welfare benefits help Americans? Obviously, it doesn't. Breitbart News' John Carney's analysis has determined that the bill, which would cut legal immigration into the United States by half, and grant entry based on education, the ability to speak English, and job skills, would actually make the working class Americans wealthier because the gross domestic product per U.S. resident would grow. It would be extremely invigorating if those on the left, and in addition rhinos like Ryan, would begin concentrating on approaches that would profit working Americans, so their earnings and riches can develop. Working class Americans don't have a lasting pay of the level that a previous congressman or congressperson draws. Officials occupy an altogether different world from whatever is left of us. In any case, that is another issue for some other time. At the present time, there's work to be done in remedying Mr. Ryan's faulty positions. Or, then again, perhaps now is the ideal time just to replace him. What do you think about this? Do not hesitate and write your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you for reading. H. T. Breitbart. President Trump just dropped on Mitch McConnell. Get back. The universes of Donald Trump the businessman and that of political Washington could barely be more extraordinary. One world relies upon innovations, offering some incentive, capable deployment and management of assets, and diligent work. Alternate relies upon none of those things. Actually, achievement in the political world is frequently upgraded by reprobate spending, trickery, and the making of projects to profit particular intrigue groups. So it is likely that President Trump gets himself baffled by the way that he can't just format an arrangement for achieving a goal, get input from able subordinates, and after that simply give the request to complete it. He would never have constructed his business empire in the event that he needed to manage what he experiences in Washington. Indications of Donald Trump, the quintessential agent, have appeared as he has as of late considered Senate Majority Leader McConnell responsible for getting the Obamacare repeal legislation passed. His tweets prompting Mr. McConnell to get back to work, and you can do it, are what you would hope to hear from a business leader. What's more, you would likewise anticipate that the subordinate will keep up without a moment's delay. It's a reviving change from the way Washington regularly works. A White House official told CNN Trump and McConnell spoke on the phone Wednesday about the path forward on health care and did not dispute that it was an animated conversation. A source familiar with the call said the conversation occurred while Trump was on his New Jersey golf course. You can wager it was vivified. President Trump is properly disappointed that a Republican-controlled House and Senate can't pass priority legislation on which the president ran. Presumably, he advised McConnell to take care of business. McConnell is presumably not used to having an assignment before him that he is relied upon to finish. For this situation, it implies a bill on the president's work area. Whatever else is an inadmissible disappointment. Asked about Trump's relationship with McConnell and how they would characterize their call, White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders said, "I think you can see the president's tweets. Obviously there is some frustration. Some frustration is no doubt an understatement. The word has come down from the White House, create a law that solves the Obamacare mess, get the legislation through both houses, and on the president's desk. Any other result is unsatisfactory and will not be tolerated. Lawmakers are being considered in charge of getting comes about. Almost certainly many are have extraordinary trouble working in such an environment. Provided that this is true, this is a phenomenal learning background for them. What do you think about this? Do not hesitate and write your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you for reading. H. TKTTS News.